Vision Makoko 2050, the floating city of Africa. Section 1, the city that shouldn't exist. At first light, the lagoon looks like a mirage, water shifting beneath a haze of gold, canoes drifting silently between wooden stilts, smoke rising in curling streams from charcoal fires where breakfast is being prepared over open flame. The city of Makoko is almost invisible from the mainland, hidden behind the glossy billboards of Lagos that promise luxury estates and infinite development. To the casual outsider, it is a slum. To the government, it is an embarrassment. To the world, it barely exists. But on this morning, as a camera crew's boat cuts through the dark water, the city prepares to reveal itself, and in doing so, will challenge everything humanity believes about the future of civilization. The journalist, Amara Dalton, watches from the bow of a wooden canoe, her film crew silent behind her. She has come from London with the intention of shooting a documentary on informal settlements and climate vulnerability. In every briefing, Makoko was described in statistics. 300,000 people living on water without formal sewage systems, no legal electricity grid, no roads. A place destined for disappearance. A testament to poverty. What she did not expect was music. It rises gently as the canoe approaches a cluster of floating platforms, children's voices singing in Yoruba and English, accompanied by the tapping of sticks and drums made from plastic containers. She adjusts her headset, thinking this must be a recording. But it is not. The music is live. And the platform ahead of her is not a ruin. It is a school, standing proudly on barrels and bamboo, painted in bright blues and greens, the words Future Leaders Academy, hand-painted across its facade. Her director whispers, "This wasn't in the brief." As the canoe bumps gently against the edge of the platform, a man steps forward to greet them. He is tall, dressed in traditional Agbada robes, his beard silver white, his posture regal. This is Chief Jide Adun, the spiritual and administrative head of Makoko, a leader without official constitutional power, yet a man whose influence stretches from one end of the lagoon to the other. "They say this city should not exist," he says, shaking Amara's hand with warm strength. "They say it is a stain, but tell me, if a city survives on water while the land sinks, which city is the future and which is the past?" His words strike her in a way she does not expect. She has heard of sinking islands, of Venice disappearing beneath rising tides, of cities planning flood walls and artificial barriers. But here is a city that has not fought the water. It has yielded to it. It has become part of it. She turns to face the lagoon. Canoes move like blood through the arteries of the community, carrying fishermen, merchants, school children. Walkways made from reclaimed timber connect clusters of homes. Solar panels rest atop corrugated roofs. Smoke rises into the morning air. Despite the chaos, despite the poverty, there is an undeniable rhythm, a living heartbeat. This is not a mistake, the chief continues. It is a prototype. Before she can respond, a siren blares across the water. A mechanical voice, amplified by loudspeaker, echoes from a police boat in the distance. "Attention all residents. This area is an illegal settlement. Evacuation and demolition will commence in 14 days. Prepare to vacate." Fishermen pause mid-stroke. Mothers stop washing clothes in the water. Children fall silent. The siren repeats the message, each word echoing off wood and water, like the tolling of a funeral bell. Her cameraman instinctively begins rolling footage. Chief Adun does not flinch. "They warned us this day would come," he says, his eyes fixed on the approaching patrol boat. But what they do not know is that this time, we are ready. Amara studies his face. There is no fear. There is resolve. The crew follows him to a meeting hall, a floating structure supported by hundreds of plastic drums tied together with heavy rope. Inside, elders and youth leaders gather around a wooden table, etched with carvings of fish and waves. On the wall hangs a map, not of present-day Makoko, but of a future city. Clusters of hexagonal platforms, connected by canals lined with mangrove gardens and solar grids. At the center, a dome marked Venice Africa Innovation Zone. Chief Adun places a stack of documents in front of her. They bear the seal of the Lagos state government. They are classified. "Where did you get these?" Amara asks. They were given to us, he replies. By a man who said the truth cannot remain hidden forever. She opens the file. The contents are shocking. Government projections predict that by 2050, over 50% of Lagos mainland will be at risk of permanent flooding due to sea level rise and land subsidence. Entire districts, including the luxury estates advertised on every billboard, will be underwater or uninhabitable. She reads the summary aloud. The only viable long-term urban model for the coastal region is aquatic adaptation, not land reclamation. She looks up. They know. Chief Adun nods. They know, but they have chosen denial over transformation. Amara is silent. In the corner of the room, an elderly woman stands. Her face is weathered by time, her eyes fierce. She introduces herself as Mama Ebele, a widow who has lived in Makoko for 62 years. They call us squatters, she says, but we are the only people who have learned to live with the water, not against it. When the great flood comes, the rich will cling to their land. But the land will not cling to them. Amara studies her surroundings. In this room, there is no panic, only purpose. She realizes that Makoko is not waiting to be saved. It is preparing to lead. Chief Adon unrolls a final document, larger than the others. It is a blueprint, modular floating homes powered by algae bioreactors. Aquaponic farms, producing fish and crops. A tidal energy station built from locally sourced bamboo and steel. Schools, clinics, art centers, all floating, all interconnected. At the top of the page is a title. Project Venice Africa, Phase 1, Resident-led implementation. Amara exhales slowly. This is not a survival plan, she says. It is a revolution. Chief Adun smiles. You arrived to film a tragedy, he replies. But what if Makoko is not the last slum of the old world, but the first capital of the new one? She glances at the window. The patrol boat circles outside, armed with orders of eviction. Behind her, hundreds of children are singing again. The city that should not exist is preparing to become the city the world will one day follow. Amara lowers her camera slowly. She does not leave. She stays. Section 2. The Architects of the Impossible. Night has come over the Makoko Lagoon, but the water does not sleep. Canoes drift silently between the shadows, paddles raised to reduce sound. A single floating structure sits at the heart of the lagoon. No lights on the exterior, no signs of occupation. Yet inside, a quiet revolution is assembling. Lanterns powered by solar cells flicker along the bamboo walls, casting dancing patterns across the polished surface of water below the floorboards. This hall, built entirely from reclaimed wood and engineered bamboo trusses, is no ordinary meeting place. It is the birthplace of a future civilization. 4 individuals take their seats at a round table. Outside, the world still calls Makoko a slum. Inside, it is being reborn as a model for planetary survival. Dr. Adana Okonkwo adjusts the files in front of her. She is in her early 40s, sharp-featured, with eyes that have studied the canals of Amsterdam, the floating villages of Cambodia, and the climate adaptation chambers of the Netherlands. Born in Lagos, but exiled by circumstance, she has returned after witnessing the same truth repeated across continents. Cities were failing, and only those who adapted to water would survive. Tonight, she is not here as a consultant. She is here as a daughter, reclaiming her future. At her right sits Kwame Mensah, the Ghanaian entrepreneur whose solar conglomerate reshaped the energy market of West Africa. His fortune was made on land, but his legacy, he claims, will be built on water. Some whisper he wants to shape history. Others say he wants to save his soul. His presence is both a shield and a target. Opposite him, Chief Jide Adon maintains the posture of a man accustomed to silence as power. He represents the people of Makoko, not as subjects, but as stewards of a cultural identity that predates the city of Lagos itself. Before Lagos became the dream of oil barons, the Makoko people were already there, living with tides. The final chair is occupied by Farid Al-Sharif, a Saudi investor whose family fortune was built on oil, now turning to water. His eyes track every movement. To some, he represents the future, Gulf wealth pivoting from fossil fuel empires to sustainable world building. To others, he is an opportunist waiting to take control. There are no microphones, no screens, only paper documents and a floating projector that hums to life above the table. The blueprint of the Makoko 2050 plan appears, an intricate mesh of hexagonal platforms, mangrove boundaries, tidal power stations, housing pods that flex with waves. Not a dream, a system. We are not here to ask permission, Dr. Adana says, her voice steady. We are here to demonstrate inevitability. She points to the map. This city will be built in phases. Phase 1, modular floating homes powered by algae biofuel and solar membranes. Phase 2, aquaculture and hydroponic farms to feed the community and export clean produce. Phase 3, Venice-style water transport with electrified gondolas. Phase 4, apply for UNESCO World Heritage status, not as a relic of the past, but as the first World Heritage Site of the future. Chief Adun nods slowly. Our people will not be spectators to their own salvation. They must own what they build. Kwame leans forward. Ownership is critical. If we allow private developers to enter before protections are in place, Makoko will be sold to the highest bidder and gentrified into oblivion. Farid clears his throat. Investment requires return. If there is no infrastructure for tourism or commerce, no international stakeholders will support this. You need luxury hospitality. Dr. Adana looks at him. We need sovereignty. For a moment, silence fills the hall. Sovereignty. A word that terrifies governments. A word that awakens people. Chief Adun raises his staff. The bamboo floor vibrates as the weight of wood meets wood. Makoko has been stolen from and neglected for generations. This city will not be built to line the pockets of oligarchs. It will be built to preserve life. Kwame glances at Adana. The Lagos state governor will not allow an autonomous floating city on his doorstep. That is why this must be a global project, she responds. We will register Makoko 2050 as an international demonstration zone for blue urbanism. The world will not watch Lagos demolish the future. Farid scrolls through the projected blueprint. Tourism, energy, food, transportation. You are not merely building a city, you are designing a new economic system. Kwame smiles. Exactly, a blue economy. But, Farid continues, what of security? The Nigerian real estate syndicates will not watch quietly while you transform land they consider theirs. Before anyone can respond, a voice from the far corner interrupts. An elder, wrapped in a faded wrapper, rises to speak. Her name is Iya Morayo. She is not an architect or economist. She is the memory of Makoko. Her voice carries the weight of generations. I have seen governments come and go, she begins. They promised roads and gave us ashes. They promised development and brought bulldozers. This plan is not about architecture. It is about dignity. The question is not whether Makoko can become Venice. The question is whether the world is ready to accept that the poor might hold the key to the survival of the rich. Her words settle over the room like dust over water. No one speaks. Then the floor begins to shake slightly. Not with tremor, but with deliberate steps. The doors swing open. Standing at the threshold is a messenger, soaked from the waist down, his face pale. He hands a sealed letter to Dr. Adana. She breaks the wax. Her eyes scan the note. Her hand tightens. They know what we are planning, she says quietly. Who? Chief Adun asks. The Lagos Waterfront Development Syndicate, she replies. They intend to bring in foreign contractors to demolish this entire zone within 6 months. The operation is already funded. What else does it say? Kwame presses. She places the note flat on the table. The words are simple, typed with cold precision. Cities do not float, and neither will your body if you continue. The hall falls silent. Outside, the water laps gently against the bamboo stilts of the floating hall, calm, patient, ancient. It has seen empires rise and disappear beneath its surface. Now, in the stillness of night, The battle for the next age of civilization has begun. The Makoko 2050 plan is no longer merely an idea. It is a threat. And someone is already preparing to kill it before it is born. Dr. Adana steps toward the edge of the hall and looks out across the dark lagoon. In the distance, a ripple moves across the water, unnatural, deliberate. Something is coming. Not a storm. A war. Section 3. The first floating pillar they began building at dawn, the hour when the lagoon is still, when the water accepts what the land rejects. The surface shimmered with the first rays of sunlight as hundreds of canoes converged toward the center of Makoko, each one carrying a piece of the future. Bamboo beams polished and treated in saltwater vats, modular steel joints engineered to withstand hurricanes, recycled ocean plastic molded into buoyant pontoons. It was not the clatter of machinery that filled the air, but singing, deep, resonant voices rising from men, women and children who had known only survival, now building destiny. The first floating platform, codenamed Pillar 1, was the size of a football field. It was the cornerstone of the Makoko 2050 project, designed to be a living city block, schools, clinics, gardens, and market squares all in one continuous undulating skin of architecture that moved with the lagoon's breath instead of resisting it. On the western edge of the platform, youth volunteers carried flat photovoltaic tiles, placing them with precision. Each tile clicked into place, not just a solar panel, but a microgrid node connected to algae-powered converters. Every watt was recorded, stored, distributed. No corruption. No middlemen. Energy belonged to the community. On the eastern edge, mothers stood knee-deep in the water planting mangrove saplings into floating biomesh strips. These roots would grow downward into the lagoon, forming natural walls that filtered water, prevented erosion, and birthed new ecosystems of fish, crabs, oysters. They planted not in silence, but in prayer. Each mangrove was given a name. Near the center of the platform, elders conducted a ceremony older than the city itself. They poured palm wine into the water as an offering to the spirits of the lagoon. They invoked the ancestors who came before, fishermen, warriors, mothers. The ritual was not symbolic. It was a binding contract between past and future, water and wood, survival and purpose. At the helm of this organized chaos stood Dr. Adana Okonkwo. She moved quickly through crowds of builders, correcting angles, checking buoyancy gauges, coordinating engineers and herbalists alike. This was no ordinary construction. This was adaptation manifest. She stepped onto the platform's edge and called to her team. "Activate the foundation pods!" Divers in wetsuits descended beneath the platform. They unlocked the polymer capsules strapped to the pontoons. Inside each capsule was a living biome, bacteria engineered to consume human waste and convert it into methane gas. The methane would rise through tubes into storage tanks, powering kitchens and lighting systems. What remained after bacterial digestion would become nutrient-rich water fed into aquaponic farms. To onlookers, it was magic. To the scientists, it was logic. To Makoko, it was freedom. Next, technicians lowered the first water filtration pod into the lagoon. This device, simple yet revolutionary, used gravity-fed membranes and plant roots to remove toxins from the water. As the pod activated, the murky green water circulating through it began to clear. A child watching from a canoe exclaimed, "The lagoon is coming back to life." Across the platform, a group of teenagers cheered as the first battery bank lit up. The solar array had begun feeding energy into the system. Lights flickered on. The floating city block had taken its first breath. Just as Adana felt hope surging through the crowd, the sound of engines shattered the harmony. 3 sleek motorboats, emblazoned with the Lagos state crest, sliced through the water toward the platform. The governor of Lagos stepped onto the floating city with a smile too polished to be real. "My brothers and sisters," he began loudly, his voice carrying over loudspeakers he had brought with him, "I am moved by your creativity. The government stands with innovation. We are not here to stop you, we are here to support you." Adana exchanged glances with Chief Adun. Support was not what the governor had come for. Behind him, uniformed men began surveying the platform with scanning devices, mapping the structure into government databanks. A drone appeared overhead, its camera lens whirring as it transmitted live footage to unknown servers. "We will require compliance with building regulations," the governor continued, "and integration into the Lagos State Urban Plan." Kwame Mensah stepped forward. "This city is not a subsidiary project. It is a sovereign innovation prototype. The world is watching." The governor smiled, but his eyes narrowed. "The world may watch, but this lagoon is still under Lagos jurisdiction." Before any further confrontation could erupt, a sudden tremor moved through the platform. The solar tiles vibrated. The water beneath them rippled in unnatural patterns. Adana's expression changed instantly. She knew this feeling. It was not seismic. It was man-made. "Check the underwater monitors," she ordered. A diver resurfaced moments later, breathless. "Explosives," he cried. "There are charges placed under the north pontoon." Panic spread through the workers, but the elders remained calm. Chief Adon raised his staff. "To the water," he said. "Makoko must defend Makoko." In a matter of seconds, canoes were launched. Young men and women dove into the water. Fishermen armed with nets and harpoons raced toward the disturbance. Beneath the platform, 3 figures in black wetsuits were fastening detonators. One of them turned, startled, as a harpoon struck the beam beside him with a violent clang. The saboteurs attempted to flee, but they were surrounded. A teenage boy, no more than 16, intercepted one of the divers as he surfaced. His name was Tunde, the same boy who had once ferried tourists through Makoko for spare change. Tonight, he had become its defender. As the captured saboteur was dragged onto the platform, the governor's expression turned from feigned support to visible alarm. The man was not a random mercenary. He bore the insignia of a major real estate conglomerate, one known for its ties to political elites. Adana crouched beside the saboteur, her voice steady. "Who sent you?" The man spat water, then looked up at her with eyes that held no remorse. "This city can't be built," he said. "Because if Makoko rises, the world will see that the poor never needed saving, only space to build." Silence fell. The entire platform, every man, woman, and child, knew at that moment that this was no longer a local development project. It was a battle for narrative. A battle for ownership of the future itself. The explosives were disarmed. The saboteurs detained. The platform, shaken, scarred, but still afloat, continued to rise with the tide. As the sun set, the lights across Pillar 1 glowed golden against the water. From above, drones captured a sight unseen in modern history, not a slum being washed away, but a new city emerging, defiant against the tide of ignorance. And across the world, as footage leaked onto global networks, a single phrase began to trend. Venice. Africa has risen.